act like you're my son's wife. Now. Her nails dug into my wrist. Across the ballroom, a man in a black suit turned, locked eyes with me. "Smile at him," she hissed. I smiled. He walked toward us, slow, dangerous. "Mother," he said coldly, "who is this?" Her grip tightened. "Your wife, darling. Don't you remember?" The lie just became real, and I have no idea how to survive it. If you love stories about ordinary women thrown into extraordinary danger, hit that subscribe button for Ebony and Pearl stories. You won't want to miss what happens next.
Maya Robinson sat alone at the farthest table from the music, cradling a half-empty glass of wine she hadn't asked for. The charity gala buzzed around her, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over Seoul's elite, champagne flutes clinking beneath carved ceilings, conversations flowing in Korean and English she only half understood. She didn't belong here. She knew at the moment she walked through the marble entrance in her simple black dress, surrounded by women in couture and men in power. She was only here because her translation firm had handled sponsor contracts. A last-minute courtesy invite. An afterthought. So she'd chosen the corner table, opened her paperback novel, and let the fictional world drown out the real one pressing in around her. That's when she noticed him. 2 tables over, near a marble column, sat a man alone with his own untouched glass. Tall and lean in a midnight black suit, his long dark hair pulled back with deliberate precision. Even from this distance, he radiated something Maya couldn't name: controlled power, watchful stillness, the kind of presence that made people unconsciously step aside. Unlike the laughing guests, this man's expression remained remote, his gaze sweeping the room with the vigilance of someone standing guard at his own execution. Maya wondered who he was. Perhaps one of the corporate sponsors. Maybe a security consultant. Definitely someone who didn't want to be here either. Before she could return to her book, an elegant figure slipped into the chair beside her without warning. Maya startled, wine sloshing dangerously close to the rim. The woman was stunning. Black lace dress, dark hair swept into an impeccable chignon, pearls at her throat that probably cost more than Maya's entire year's rent. Her posture was regal, her smile gracious, but her eyes held something else entirely. Urgency. Fear. Calculation. Before Maya could speak, the woman leaned close enough that Maya caught the scent of jasmine and expensive perfume. "Please," the woman whispered in flawless English, lips barely moving. "Act like you're my son's wife tonight." Maya's breath caught. "I'm sorry, what?" The woman's manicured fingers closed around Maya's wrist beneath the table, not painfully, but with unmistakable authority. "My name is Lee Soo-jin," she said softly, urgency threading through every syllable. "And if you don't do this, someone here will die." Maya froze. Her mind screamed 100 questions, but her mouth wouldn't form words. Soo-jin's gaze flicked toward the man in the black suit. "That is my son, Lee Sang-woo." The name hit Maya like cold water. She'd heard it before, whispered in industry circles, buried in articles that disappeared overnight, mentioned in tense conversations about cross-border deals that didn't quite follow legal channels. A businessman by reputation. Something far darker in reality. Korean organized crime. Maya breathed, the pieces snapping together with horrifying clarity. Soo-jin nodded once, her expression unreadable. "And tonight, someone plans to challenge him publicly. They believe he is weak, isolated. A man without family is easy to destroy." Her grip tightened slightly. A married man is not. Maya's instinct screamed to stand up, to walk away, to pretend this conversation never happened. But Soo-jin's hand anchored her in place, and across the room, she saw movement. A cluster of men in tailored suits approaching from the far entrance, their expressions cold, their arrival quieting the laughter nearby. "They think Sang-woo has no roots left worth protecting," Soo-jin continued, voice dropping even lower. "That makes him vulnerable. But a wife," her eyes locked onto Maya's. "A wife changes everything." Maya swallowed hard. "I don't understand why you're asking me." "Because you're unknown," Soo-jin interrupted. "Because you don't fear him yet. Because I'm desperate." She paused, then added with devastating honesty, And because you have a kind face, and right now we need someone who looks like they chose this life instead of being born into it. Maya's hands trembled. Every rational instinct told her to refuse, to walk out, to save herself. But the desperation in Sujin's eyes, the approaching threat she didn't fully understand, and something deeper, something that recognized a woman protecting her child at any cost, made her decision before her mind could catch up. "All right," Maya whispered, heart hammering. "I'll do it." Relief flooded Sujin's face, quickly masked by composure. In one fluid motion, the older woman stood and pulled Maya up with her, looping a supportive arm through hers with the ease of familiar intimacy. Before Maya could steady herself, Sujin raised her voice just enough to carry to nearby tables. "There you are, my dear," she said warmly, a perfect mask of maternal affection sliding into place. "I was wondering where my daughter-in-law had gone." Every head within earshot turned. Conversations paused. Eyes shifted. And whispers began to ripple outward like stones thrown into still water. Maya felt her face heat, her breath shallow. But Sujin's arm kept her anchored, kept her standing when her knees threatened to buckle. And then Sangwoo was walking toward them. His movements were unhurried but deliberate, each step measured. Up close, his presence was overwhelming, controlled power wrapped in silk and steel. His slate-gray eyes flicked from his mother to Maya, sharp and assessing, and she watched realization dawn across his features. Confusion, then suspicion, then something darker. "Yomi-oni," he said in Korean, voice low and edged with warning. "What are you doing?" Sujin smiled serenely, switching to English for Maya's benefit. "Darling, I was just introducing your wife to some of the guests. You know how important first impressions are." For a split second, Sangwoo's composure cracked, his jaw tightened, his eyes flashed with barely contained fury before the mask returned. His gaze cut to Maya, taking her in with predatory focus. She could feel him cataloging everything, her dress, her posture, her fear. Then his hand closed around her wrist. Not rough, but firm enough that Maya understood she wasn't going anywhere. He leaned close, lips near her ear, and murmured in English laced with barely controlled anger. "Who are you, and why is my mother involving you in something that could get you killed?" Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She met his eyes, storm-gray and burning with questions, and whispered back, "I'm asking myself the same thing." Something flickered across his face. Not softness, but perhaps recognition of shared confusion. Then his hand slid from her wrist to her waist, pulling her against his side with unsettling ease. His posture shifted in an instant, from wary suspicion to convincingly intimate possession. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple comfortable in each other's orbit, like a man protecting what belonged to him. "Smile," he murmured against her hair, voice like gravel. "And don't say anything unless I tell you to." Maya forced her lips to curve, though her pulse roared in her ears. Across the ballroom, the entrance doors opened wider. The cluster of men she'd noticed earlier moved fully into view, and at their center walked a figure who commanded immediate attention. Tall, silver-haired, his tailored gray suit immaculate, his expression pleasant in a way that made Maya's instincts scream danger. Conversations around them dimmed. Guests shifted subtly, creating space, their movements unconscious but telling. Sangwoo's grip on Maya's waist tightened imperceptibly. "Chairman Kong," he said under his breath, so quietly Maya almost missed it. "He's been waiting for an excuse to move against me for months." Maya's throat went dry. "And if he finds out I'm not really your wife?" Sangwoo's expression remained perfectly calm, perfectly controlled, but his next words sent ice through her veins. "Then we'll both wish he'd killed us quickly." Chairman Kong was moving toward them now, flanked by his men, his smile widening like a predator who'd spotted wounded prey. And Maya realized with sinking, terrifying clarity that she couldn't run, couldn't hide, couldn't take back the lie that had just been spoken aloud to a room full of witnesses. The masquerade had begun, and there was no walking away. Chairman Kong moved through the ballroom like a shark gliding through shallow water. Unhurried, deliberate, his pleasant smile never reaching the cold calculation in his eyes. Guests parted instinctively, conversations faltering as he passed. By the time he reached them, Silence had spread in ripples across their section of the room. Lee Sang-woo, Kong said smoothly in Korean, his voice carrying the false warmth of old acquaintances. It's been too long. Sang-woo's arm remained firmly around Maya's waist, his posture deceptively relaxed. Chairman Kong, I didn't realize you'd be attending tonight. A last-minute decision. Kang's gaze slid to Maya, lingering with thinly veiled curiosity. And who is this lovely woman? I don't recall seeing her at previous family gatherings. Sujin stepped forward before Sang-woo could respond, her smile gracious but protective. This is Maya Robinson, my son's wife. They married quietly last month. We wanted privacy before making any formal announcements. Maya felt every eye in their vicinity lock onto her. Her throat tightened, but she forced herself to meet Kang's gaze steadily, the way she imagined a woman confident in her position would. Wife, Kong repeated, something sharp flickering behind his pleasant expression. How unexpected. The Lee family has always been so particular about their alliances. Maya is American, Sang-woo said evenly, his fingers pressing gently but deliberately against Maya's hip, a warning to stay silent. We met through business channels. Sometimes the best partnerships are the ones you don't expect. Kang's smile thinned. Indeed. Though I'm surprised you didn't consult with the council before making such a significant decision. Marriage, especially for someone in your position, has implications beyond romance. The threat beneath the polite words was unmistakable. My personal life, Sang-woo replied, his tone still calm but edged with steel, has never required council approval. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Maya felt Sang-woo's hand tighten imperceptibly at her waist, felt the controlled power coiled beneath his composure. Kang's eyes narrowed fractionally before he inclined his head. Of course. My congratulations to you both. He turned to leave, then paused, glancing back at Maya. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Lee. I hope you understand what you've married into. The words landed like a stone dropped into still water, heavy, ominous. Then he was gone, his men following in his wake, leaving a wake of whispers behind them. The moment Kong disappeared into the crowd, Sang-woo released Maya and stepped back, his expression hardening. We need to talk. Now. Sang-woo led her to a private alcove beyond the ballroom, a small sitting area with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Sujin followed, closing the door behind them with a quiet click. Maya's hands trembled as she set down her wine glass. What just happened? You became leverage, Sang-woo said bluntly, his storm gray eyes fixed on her with unsettling intensity. Whether you understood it or not. Sang-woo, Sujin began. No, mother. He turned on her, controlled fury radiating from every line of his body. You dragged an innocent woman into a power struggle she doesn't understand. Do you have any idea what Kong will do if he discovers this is a lie? Sujin's composure didn't crack, which is why it cannot be discovered. Maya felt her breath shallow. What does Chairman Kong want? Sang-woo's jaw tightened. Control. For months, he's been spreading rumors that I'm isolated, vulnerable, distracted. In our world, perception is everything. A man without family, without connections, without roots. He paused, something dark crossing his features. That man is easy to remove. But a married man isn't. Maya finished quietly, understanding crystallizing with cold clarity. Exactly. Sang-woo crossed to the window, his back to them. A wife signals stability, legacy, strength. It makes rivals think twice before moving against you, because attacking a man with family means starting a war, not just eliminating a problem. Maya looked at Sujin. You knew this. You planned this. Sujin met her gaze, without flinching. Yes. Mother. I chose Maya specifically, Sujin continued, her voice steady. Not randomly. Not out of panic. I've been watching the ballroom all evening, looking for someone who could play this role convincingly. You used her, Sang-woo said coldly. I protected you. Sujin's mask finally cracked, revealing the fierce maternal desperation beneath. Kong has been circling for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. Tonight was that moment. A public event, witnesses, your father too ill to attend, you appearing alone and unattached. Her voice dropped. I did what I had to do to keep my son alive. The raw honesty in her words silenced the room. Maya sank into the nearest chair, her mind reeling. So, what happens now? Sang-woo turned from the window, his expression unreadable. Now we maintain the lie.
Publicly. Convincingly.
Until Kong and the others believe it's real. How long? As long as it takes. He studied her, something shifting in his gaze, not softness, but perhaps reluctant respect. You held your ground with Kong. That was smart. Most people fold under that kind of scrutiny. I was terrified, Maya admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Sang-woo moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. But you need to understand something, Maya Robinson. You're not decoration. You're leverage now. Which means you're also a target. The words settled over her like ice water. Kong will test you, Sang-woo continued. His associates will probe for weaknesses, inconsistencies, anything that suggests this marriage is a fabrication. One wrong word, one hesitation, and everything unravels. Then tell me what I need to know, Maya said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. Tell me how to survive this. Something flickered in Sang-woo's expression, surprise, perhaps, or reluctant approval. They returned to the ballroom together, but everything had changed. Sang-woo's hand found hers with practiced ease, their fingers lacing together in a gesture that looked effortless, intimate, real. He murmured quiet instructions as they moved through the crowd, names to remember, faces to avoid, subtle cues that signaled danger or safety. Maya noticed how he positioned himself, always between her and approaching strangers. Always angled, so he could see the exits. His calm wasn't coldness, she realized. It was survival instinct honed to razor precision. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, a smooth voice interrupted. They turned to find a younger man in an expensive suit, his smile friendly, but his eyes calculating. One of Kang's associates, Maya guessed from the way Sang-woo's grip on her hand tightened microscopically. Kim Min-jae, Sang-woo acknowledged coolly. Congratulations on your marriage, Min-jae said, his gaze sliding to Maya with unsettling focus. Mrs. Lee, how did you and Sang-woo meet? I'm curious. He's usually so private about his personal affairs. The question felt like a trap. Maya smiled, channeling every ounce of confidence she didn't feel. Through work, actually. I'm a translator. We met during contract negotiations last year. A translator? Min-jae's smile widened. How romantic. And you speak Korean? Jogium, Maya replied carefully. A little. Fascinating. His eyes gleamed. Then you must understand how unique this situation is. Sang-woo marrying outside the usual circles. Some might call it bold. Others might call it reckless. The veiled threat hung in the air. Before Maya could respond, Sang-woo stepped forward, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Careful, Min-jae. You're speaking about my wife. Min-jae raised his hands in mock surrender, but his smile never wavered. Of course. No offense intended. He walked away, but the damage was done. Maya felt the weight of scrutiny pressing down from every direction, eyes watching, whispers spreading, danger circling closer. And then, from across the ballroom, Chairman Kang's voice rose above the ambient noise. Ladies and gentlemen, if I might have your attention for a moment. The room quieted. Kong stood near the center of the ballroom, champagne glass raised, his expression pleasant, but his eyes locked directly on Sang-woo. I'd like to propose a toast, Kong continued, his voice carrying effortlessly. To Lee Sang-woo and his beautiful new bride. May their marriage be everything they hope for. He paused, his smile sharpening. And may they both understand the responsibilities that come with such public commitments. The room held its breath. Sang-woo's hand tightened around Maya's, not painfully, but with unmistakable warning. The challenge had been issued, and there was no walking away now. The ballroom held its collective breath. Chairman Kang's champagne glass remained raised, his smile sharp enough to draw blood, his eyes locked on Sang-woo with predatory patience. Around them, guests shifted uncomfortably, caught between social obligation and the tension crackling through the air like lightning before a storm. Maya felt Sang-woo's hand tighten around hers, a warning, an anchor, Or perhaps both. To new beginnings, Kong continued, his voice smooth as silk over steel. Though I must confess, I'm curious about the suddenness of this union. His gaze slid to Maya, assessing and dismissive in equal measure. One wonders what qualities Mrs. Lee possesses that warranted such a hasty marriage. Certainly not her familiarity with our world. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some guests looked away, unwilling to witness the public humiliation. Others leaned forward, hungry for drama. Maya felt heat crawl up her neck. Beside her, Sang-woo's jaw tightened, his entire body coiling with controlled fury. She could feel him preparing to respond, to defend, to escalate. And suddenly, Maya understood with crystalline clarity that this was exactly what Kong wanted. An emotional reaction. A crack in Sang-woo's legendary composure. Proof that the marriage was a desperate move rather than a strategic choice. Before Sang-woo could speak, Maya stepped forward. "Chairman Kong," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the hushed ballroom. "I appreciate your curiosity, though I'm surprised you'd question my husband's judgment so publicly." Kang's eyes narrowed fractionally. "I meant no offense, Mrs. Lee." "Of course not." Maya's smile was polite, professional, and completely unyielding. "But since you've raised the question, allow me to answer it. You're right, I'm not familiar with your world in the way you mean. I wasn't born into this life. I chose it." She paused, letting the words settle. "And unlike those who inherit their positions without earning them, I understand that true strength isn't measured by how long you've held power, but by how well you protect what matters." The room went utterly silent. Kang's pleasant expression froze. Maya continued, her tone measured but firm. "My husband doesn't need to explain his choices to anyone, least of all those who mistake longevity for legitimacy. And if you're truly concerned about the suddenness of our marriage, perhaps you should ask yourself why it threatens you so deeply." For a heartbeat, no one moved. No one breathed. Then Sang-woo's hand found the small of Maya's back, not controlling, but supportive.
Claiming.
"Well said, Yobo," he murmured, the Korean endearment deliberate and public. His gaze locked onto Kang's. "My wife has a gift for clarity. It's one of the many reasons I married her." Kang's mask of civility cracked for just a moment, anger flashing raw and undisguised before he regained control. He raised his glass higher.
To clarity, then.
"And to marriages built on mutual understanding." The forced toast rippled through the crowd, champagne glasses rising in uncomfortable unity. But Maya had drawn first blood, and everyone knew it. The moment they stepped into another private alcove, Sang-woo released her and turned, his expression unreadable. "That was reckless," he said, voice low and controlled. Maya lifted her chin. "That was necessary. You don't understand what you just did. I stopped him from humiliating you." Maya's hands trembled, adrenaline finally catching up with her. "He wanted you angry, defensive. He wanted proof that this marriage was weakness, not strength. So I gave him the opposite." Sang-woo stared at her, something shifting behind his storm-gray eyes. "You defended me." "I defended us," Maya corrected. "If this life falls apart, we both pay the price. I'm not going to stand there silently while someone tries to destroy what we're building, even if it's a fabrication." For a long moment, Sang-woo said nothing. Then, unexpectedly, the corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but something close to approval. "You surprise me, Maya Robinson." "Good," Maya replied, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. "You need someone who can." Behind them, the door opened quietly. Soo-jin slipped inside, her expression carefully neutral, but Maya caught the flash of satisfaction in her eyes. "That," Soo-jin said softly, "was exactly what I hoped for when I chose you." Sang-woo's gaze snapped to his mother. "You knew she'd do that?" "I knew she had the intelligence and courage to see what needed to be done." Soo-jin moved to the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. "Unlike the women the council would have chosen for you, Maya doesn't fear power, she understands it." Maya felt something twist in her chest, pride and unease tangled together. "You're still manipulating me." "Yes," Soo-jin admitted without hesitation. "But now you're choosing to be manipulated. That's the difference." Before Maya could respond, Raised voices filtered through the closed door. Sharp, urgent, speaking rapid Korean. Sang-woo moved instantly, pressing his ear to the door. His expression darkened. "We need to return," he said, reaching for Maya's hand.
Now.
They rejoined the gala, but the atmosphere had shifted. Conversations felt strained, forced. Guests clustered in tight groups, their laughter brittle. Maya noticed Kang's men positioned strategically around the ballroom's perimeter. Too many of them. Too deliberately placed. Something was wrong. "Stay close," Sang-woo murmured, his hand firm at her waist. "Don't leave my side." Maya nodded, her earlier confidence evaporating into cold awareness. She scanned the crowd, looking for threats she didn't know how to identify, reading body language across cultural and criminal contexts she barely understood. That's when she noticed the service corridor. Two men in server uniforms stood partially hidden behind a marble column, their postures tense, their conversation hushed but urgent. One gestured sharply toward the ballroom's main lighting panel. The other checked his watch, then nodded. Maya's heart kicked. She couldn't hear their exact words, but she caught fragments, Korean phrases that her limited vocabulary struggled to parse. But certain words needed no translation. Bulbit.
Lights. Siko. Distraction.
Jagyura.
Kill.
Her blood ran cold. Sang-woo, she whispered, gripping his sleeve. Those men by the service corridor. He followed her gaze, his expression hardening instantly. "Stay here." No. But he was already moving, signaling subtly to men she hadn't realized were his, security dressed as guests, blending seamlessly into the crowd. Maya's mind raced. If they were planning an attack during a lights-out distraction, then stopping those two men wouldn't be enough. There would be others. Backup plans. Contingencies. She glanced toward the lighting panel, then toward Kang's position across the ballroom. He stood perfectly relaxed, champagne glass in hand, chatting pleasantly with other guests. Too relaxed. Too convenient. Maya's breath caught. He knew. Kang knew what was about to happen, which meant he wasn't the target. Sang-woo was. She turned to find him, to warn him, to... The lights went out. Screams erupted. Glass shattered. And in the sudden, absolute darkness, Maya heard the unmistakable sound of a safety being released. Someone was moving toward where Sang-woo had been standing, and Maya was the only one who knew. Darkness swallowed the ballroom whole. Maya's heart hammered as screams erupted around her. High-pitched, panicked, the sound of 100 people suddenly blind and terrified. Crystal shattered. Bodies collided. Expensive heels stumbled on marble floors. And somewhere in the chaos, a weapon was moving towards Sang-woo. Maya didn't think. She lunged in the direction she'd last seen him, her hands outstretched, her voice ripping from her throat. "Sang-woo, get down." The gunshot was deafening. A flash of muzzle fire illuminated the ballroom for a split second, long enough for Maya to see a figure in server's uniform 20 feet away, arm extended, barrel aimed directly where Sang-woo had been standing. But he wasn't there anymore. Iron hands closed around Maya's waist and yanked her backward. She hit the floor hard, Sang-woo's body covering hers, his weight pressing her into the cold marble as a second shot rang out above them. She heard the bullet punch through drywall, felt Sang-woo's sharp intake of breath against her ear. "Don't move," he commanded, his voice lethal and controlled. Emergency lighting flickered on, dim red emergency exits casting the ballroom in hellish shadows. Maya saw everything in fragmented snapshots. Guests scrambling for exits, overturned tables, champagne pooling like blood on white linen. And Sang-woo's men moving like ghosts through the chaos. They converged on the shooter with terrifying precision. One tackled him from behind. Another kicked the weapon away. Within seconds, the assassin was on the ground, arms wrenched behind his back, 3 men surrounding him with weapons drawn. "Secure the perimeter," Sang-woo ordered in Korean, rising fluidly to his feet. He pulled Maya up with him, his hands checking her shoulders, her arms, her face, searching for injuries with swift, clinical efficiency. "Are you hurt?" Maya shook her head, her voice trapped somewhere in her constricted throat. "You're bleeding," he said sharply. She looked down. Her dress was torn at the knee, blood seeping from where she'd hit the marble. The pain registered distantly, secondary to the adrenaline still screaming through her veins. "It's nothing," she managed. "You could have been killed." Sang-woo's hands tightened on her shoulders, his storm-gray eyes burning with something between fury and fear. "What were you thinking, shouting like that? You made yourself a target." "You were the target," Maya interrupted, her voice stronger now. "I heard them planning it. The lights, the distraction, it was all for you." Sang-woo stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Before he could respond, one of his men approached, dragging the captured assassin forward. The man's face was bruised, his lips split, but his eyes held defiant rage. "He's not talking," the security man reported in English for Maya's benefit. "But we found this." He held up a phone, the screen displaying a text message in Korean. Sang-woo's face went stone cold as he read it. "What does it say?" Maya asked. Sang-woo's jaw tightened. "Instructions. Timing. Payment details." His eyes lifted to scan the ballroom, landing on Chairman Kang's position near the far exit. And confirmation of who ordered the hit. Maya followed his gaze. Kang stood surrounded by his men, his expression carefully neutral, but she caught the flash of fury in his eyes when he realized the assassination had failed. "He's not even trying to hide it," Maya breathed. "He doesn't need to. Not yet." Sang-woo's voice was ice. This was meant to look like random violence during a blackout. No witnesses. No proof. Just another tragic accident at a charity gala. "Except I warned you." Maya met his gaze. "And now you have proof." For the first time since the chaos erupted, Sang-woo's composure cracked. He looked at her, really looked at her, not as a stranger forced into a lie, not as leverage or decoration, but as someone who had just saved his life at risk to her own. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "Yes, I did." Maya's hands trembled, delayed shock finally catching up. "Because this lie? It's not just yours anymore." Something unguarded crossed his face, surprise, respect, and something deeper she couldn't name. Around them, his security team was ushering remaining guests toward exits, coordinating with building security, documenting evidence. The ballroom looked like a war zone, shattered glass, overturned furniture, blood on marble floors. And through it all, Sujin appeared like a ghost materializing from shadows. Her face was pale, her impeccable composure finally fractured. She moved straight to Sang-woo, her hands reaching for him, checking him over with a mother's desperate urgency. "Gwenchina," she demanded. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, mother. Thanks to Maya." Sujin turned to Maya, and for the first time, her mask fell completely. Raw guilt, fierce gratitude, and bone-deep relief warred across her features. "I'm sorry," Sujin whispered. "I knew Kang would make a move tonight. I knew he'd test us. But I never thought," her voice broke, "I never thought he'd go this far. Not with so many witnesses." "You knew?" Maya felt cold spread through her chest. "You knew this was coming?" "I knew he was dangerous. I knew bringing you into this would provoke him." Sujin's eyes glistened. "But I thought your presence would prevent violence, not escalate it. I thought showing strength would be enough. Instead, you made him desperate," Sang-woo said, his voice cutting. "Desperate enough to risk everything on a public assassination. I was protecting you by using Maya as bait." Sang-woo's anger was white-hot and controlled. "You gambled with both our lives, mother." Sujin didn't deny it. She simply looked at Maya with something like remorse. "I'm sorry. Truly. I thought I could control this." Maya's hands clenched into fists, anger and exhaustion warring within her. "Control this? I almost watched someone kill your son. I almost got killed myself. And for what? A lie? A performance? For survival," Sujin said softly. "In our world, that's all any of us have." The words hung heavy in the ruined ballroom. Sang-woo's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening further. "Kang left through the service entrance 3 minutes ago. He's gone." "But we have proof," Maya said. "The phone, the assassin. Proof that means nothing without the right connections to act on it." Sang-woo pocketed his phone, then turned to Maya, his gaze steady and serious. "Which brings us to a decision you need to make." Maya's breath caught. What decision? This ends tonight if you wanted to. Sang-woo's voice was quiet, almost gentle. I can have you on a flight back to America by morning. New identity, if necessary. Protection until Kong loses interest. You can walk away from this, Maya. From all of it. Relief and something else, something unexpected, twisted in Maya's chest. But, she prompted, because there was always a but. Sang-woo stepped closer, his presence overwhelming in the dim emergency lighting. But Kong saw you save me. He saw you defend me. He knows you're not just decoration. You're dangerous to him. His eyes searched hers. The lie we started tonight? It's already too big to disappear cleanly. If you leave now, he might let you go. Or he might decide you're a loose end worth tying up. And if I stay? Then we finish what my mother started. Sang-woo's voice dropped lower. We make this marriage real enough that leaving me alive costs Kong more than it's worth. We become partners, not in love, but in survival. Maya looked at the devastation around them, at the blood on her dress, at the man who'd almost killed Sang-woo being dragged away in restraints. She should run. She should take the escape he was offering and never look back. But when she met Sang-woo's storm gray eyes, she found herself saying something else entirely. Ask me again when we're not standing in a crime scene. For the first time that night, Lee Sang-woo smiled. Not the controlled mask he showed the world, but something real and almost warm. Fair enough. He extended his hand. Maya took it, and sealed whatever fate awaited them both. Should Maya run or stay? Drop your answer below and subscribe. 24 hours later, Maya stood in front of floor-to-ceiling windows in Sang-woo's penthouse apartment, watching Seoul's skyline glitter against the night. The city looked peaceful from this height, deceptively so.
She knew better now.
Beneath the beauty lay currents of power, violence, and survival she was only beginning to understand. Behind her, Sang-woo set down 2 cups of tea on the glass coffee table. The domestic gesture felt surreal after everything that had happened at the gala. You haven't given me your answer, he said quietly. Maya turned from the window. In the soft lamplight, without the armor of his tailored suit, Sang-woo looked almost ordinary. Almost. But she'd seen him move through chaos with lethal precision. She'd felt the controlled power coiled beneath his calm exterior. I've been thinking about my life before last night, Maya said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. It was quiet.
Safe.
Predictable. I'd wake up, translate contracts, go home, read my books, and pretend that was enough. She paused, meeting his gaze. I told myself I was content. And now I realize I was just hiding. Maya crossed her arms, not defensively, but thoughtfully. Hiding from risk, from real connection, from anything that might crack open the careful little world I'd built for myself. Sang-woo watched her with those storm-gray eyes, revealing nothing. Last night terrified me, Maya continued. Not just the violence or the danger, though God knows that was enough, but the moment when I had to choose. Stay silent and stay safe, or shout a warning and become part of something I couldn't control. She smiled faintly. I didn't even think about it. I just chose. You chose to save me. I chose to matter. The words came out raw, honest. For the first time in years, I did something that actually meant something. And yes, it was dangerous. Yes, it could have gotten me killed. But it was real in a way my entire careful life has never been. Sang-woo set his tea down untouched. That doesn't mean you should stay. I know. Maya moved to the couch, sitting across from him. You're offering me an out. Protection, a new identity, safety. Everything rational says I should take it and run. But I don't want safe anymore. Maya leaned forward, her voice firm. I want real. And this, whatever this is between us, it's the most real thing I've touched in years. Something shifted in Sang-woo's expression. Not quite vulnerability, but close. I need to be clear about what you're agreeing to, he said. This isn't a romance, Maya.
It's a partnership.
A strategy. You'll be tied to me, to my family, to everything that comes with this world. The danger won't end with Kong. I understand. Do you? His intensity sharpened. Because once you commit to this, there's no halfway. We maintain the lie until it becomes indistinguishable from truth. Public appearances. Shared space. A marriage in everything but name, and possibly in name too if it comes to that. Maya's pulse quickened, but she held his gaze. Then I have conditions. Sangwoo's eyebrow lifted fractionally. Conditions. Yes. Maya straightened her spine. I'll stay. I'll play this role. I'll be your wife in public and your partner in survival. But I will not be controlled. Not by you. Not by your mother. Not by this world's expectations. Meaning I speak when I need to speak. I act when I need to act. You don't shelter me from information because you think I can't handle it. Her voice was steel wrapped in calm. I'm not decoration, and I'm not a pawn. I'm an equal partner in this lie, or I walk. Silence stretched between them. Then, slowly, Sangwoo smiled. Not the controlled mask he showed the world, but something genuine and almost impressed. Agreed. Maya exhaled, not realizing she'd been holding her breath. One more thing, Sangwoo added, leaning forward. If you ever want out, truly want out, you tell me. I'll find a way, even if it costs me everything. The promise landed between them, heavy and sincere. Why? Maya asked softly. Why would you do that? Because you saved my life when you didn't have to. His gray eyes held hers. And because I'm beginning to think my mother was right about you. You're dangerous in all the right ways. Despite everything, the chaos, the fear, the impossible situation, Maya laughed. 3 days later, they appeared together at a high-profile business luncheon. The moment they entered the restaurant, conversations faltered. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire through the exclusive venue. That's her, the wife who saved him. She stood up to Chairman Kong. Did you hear she warned him seconds before the gunshot? Maya felt the weight of every gaze, but this time, she didn't shrink from it. She walked beside Sangwoo with her head high, his hand warm and steady at the small of her back. Across the room, she caught sight of Sujin seated with several prominent society women. The matriarch's expression was carefully neutral, but when their eyes met, Maya saw something complex there, pride warring with guilt, satisfaction tangled with regret. Sujin had orchestrated this. She'd thrown Maya into deep water to save her son. But Maya had chosen to swim. As they took their seats, Sangwoo leaned close, his voice low enough for only her to hear. Kong sent word this morning. He's calling for a formal meeting with the council. Maya's hand tightened fractionally on her water glass. What does that mean? It means the war isn't over. It's just beginning. Sangwoo's expression remained pleasant, perfect for public consumption, but his eyes were serious. Are you ready for that? Maya thought about the woman she'd been a week ago, sitting alone with her book, avoiding connection, choosing safety over everything else. That woman was gone. Ask me again after we survive the meeting, she replied. Sangwoo's smile was small but genuine. Fair enough. That evening, back in Sangwoo's penthouse, Maya found her paperback novel on the coffee table where she'd left it days ago. The bookmark was still wedged between pages she'd never finished reading. She picked it up, running her fingers over the worn cover. For years, this had been her escape. Fictional worlds where she could disappear without risk, without consequence, without ever having to truly live. Sangwoo emerged from his office, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, looking more human than dangerous for once. Good book? He asked, nodding at the novel in her hands. Maya looked at it, then at him. This man who'd become her ally, her partner, possibly her future in ways she couldn't yet imagine. She set the book down without opening it. I'll finish it later, she said. Right now, I'd rather stay present. Something warm flickered in Sangwoo's expression. He crossed to the window, looking out at the city he both controlled and was controlled by, then glanced back at her. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Lee. Maya joined him at the window, their reflections ghostly in the glass, two strangers bound by necessity, transformed by choice into something neither of them had expected. The quiet woman was gone, and the dangerous one was only just beginning. Maya's journey from invisible to unstoppable gave me chills. Did it move you too? Subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories and drop a red heart if you're ready for more stories like this. This is only the beginning of Maya and Sangwoo's story. The lie has become their truth, but survival in his world demands more than pretending. What comes next will test them both in ways they never imagined.
You stayed with Maya and Sangwoo all the way to the end. That means something to me. It really does. Most people scroll past stories like this, but you gave them a chance. You let their story matter to you. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of person I create these stories for. I've got another one waiting for you, one that's going to pull at your heart even harder than this one did. I promise you, if Maya's courage moved you, what happens next will absolutely wreck you in the best way possible. Click on that video showing on your screen right now. Don't let this be where our time together ends. Oh, and one more thing. I've been reading through the comments, and I love seeing where all of you beautiful souls are watching from. If you haven't told me yet, drop your city or country below. Let me know you are here. Let me know Maya and Songwoo's story reached you. It would mean the world to me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about these characters as much as I do.